After the grounding of Evergiven, a 20,000 TEU cargo ship, the Suez Canal was closed for 6 days in March 2021. On the morning of March 23, the 400-meter vessel was buffeted by high winds and became jammed across the canal, its bow and stern caught in the canal banks, blocking all traffic until it could be released. The canal blockage, being one of the world's busiest commercial routes, had a substantial detrimental impact on commerce between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. At least 369 ships were waiting to transit through the canal on March 28. Let's take a deeper look at the incident. In 1869, the Suez Canal, one of the world's busiest trade routes, opened. By 2021, the canal was carrying around 50 ships every day, accounting for nearly 12% of total world trade at the time. The canal, however, is not broad enough for commerce to go in both directions for most of its length. Convoys of ships must take turns crossing certain sections of the waterway. Evergiven was laying down on December 25, 2015, launched on May 9, 2018, and completed on September 25, 2018, replacing a ship with the same name. The ship is owned by Shoei Senkisha, a subsidiary of Japan's Imabari Shipbuilding. Evergreen Marine, a container shipping business located in Taiwan, is the ship's operator. Bernhard Schulte Ship Management is in charge of the vessel. Evergiven was traveling through the Suez Canal when it was trapped in a sandstorm on March 23, 2021, at 5:40 UTC. Strong gusts of more than 40 knots caused the ship's hull to diverge due to a lack of capacity to control the ship. The ship then went aground at 82 nautical miles and twisted sideways, unable to free itself, blocking the canal on both sides. The entire crew of Indian nationals was found safe and sound, with no injuries recorded. The ship was traveling from Tanjung Pelepas, Malaysia, to Rotterdam, Netherlands, at the time of the tragedy. When it ran aground near the hamlet of Manchiat Rugola, it was fifth in a northbound convoy of 15 vessels. According to Evert Later, head of the Maritime Technology Division at the University of Ghent, the bank effect, which causes a ship's stern to swing toward the near bank when operating in a constrained waterway, as well as the lateral forces of west to east winds pushing sideways against the northbound ship, may have contributed to the grounding. Evergiven obstructing around 300 boats at both ends of the canal, including 5 additional cargo ships of comparable capacity. The Suez Canal Authority hired Royal Boscalis Westminster, through its subsidiary Smith Salvage, to conduct maritime salvage efforts in the immediate aftermath of the incident. Their specialists collaborated closely with the Canal Authority, planning the time and direction of activities and organizing a team of Egyptian, Dutch, and Japanese employees. The weight of fuel, oil, and water ballast on the ship had to be reduced or redistributed using high-capacity pumps. Heavy lift helicopters have been recommended by certain Egyptian authorities, however none are capable of lifting a fully loaded shipping container, which weighs around 30,480 kilograms. To assist lighten the ship, fuel and 9,000 tons of ballast water were evacuated, and heavy gear, including an excavator, began digging the bow out. The Suez Canal Authority halted Suez Canal traffic on March 25 until Evergiven could be refloated. The Egyptian president's advisor on seaports, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, claimed the same day that the canal will be emptied in 48 to 72 hours, maximum. To make the most of the ebbing tide flow, ballast was changed and towing was timed. Following the king tide of a supermoon, the ship was hauled free at 15:05 local time. At high tide, it required 14 tugboats to remove the 224,000-ton freighter. The ship's bow had been partially pushed away from the beach, according to satellite data, albeit it remained stuck at the canal's edge. The stern of the ship had swung around and was now in the center of the canal. As of 15:05 local time, the vessel had been released and was being hauled to the Great Bitter Lake for inspection. After an examination of the Suez Canal's bottom and soil revealed that it was sound and free of problems, the Canal Administration told shipping organizations that the canal will reopen for shipping at 1900 hours local time. The Suez Canal Authority stated on April 3 that the results of its ongoing inquiry will be released in the coming days. The inquiry, however, has taken longer than expected, with pledges made most recently on April 13 to provide investigative conclusions by April 18. The ship remained on the lake as of April 13, pending either a mutually agreeable settlement for damages between the ship's owners and the SCA or the outcome of potential litigation. Requests for reimbursement from the SCA in the amount of $1 billion, based on lost income and the expense of the rescue operation, might potentially cause the Evergiven's trip to be delayed. Osama Rabi, the head of the SCA, stated that the ship may proceed provided the inquiry was completed without incident and a compensation arrangement was made. On April 6, the ship's owners and the SCA were still negotiating a settlement, with Rabi telling the Associated Press that he hoped for an out-of-court settlement, saying that taking the issue before a court would be more detrimental to the owners than settling with the SCA. The ship's insurer, the British P&I Club, followed suit on April 23, filing an appeal against the ship's detention, claiming that the cargo arrest was unlawful and that the compensation claim was unfounded. This happened after earlier failed discussions, with the SCA instead blaming the ship's owner for refusing to pay anything. On the 4th of May, an Egyptian judge dismissed the appeal. Owners of containers on board have been contacted by the vessel's owner, Shoiki Senkesha, to assume partial responsibility for potential compensation payments. The ship's final fate is still a legal murky area. The ship's day-to-day operations, including normal safety drills and maintenance, continued as usual, with the ship's manager stating that minimum safe staffing criteria for the vessel would be maintained at all times. Egyptian officials freed the ship on July 7, 2021, after reaching an unclear agreement. The closure of the Suez Canal has led to price rises and delays in supplies. Some freight forwarders predicted that demand for alternate modes of transportation on Europe-Asia routes would increase in the coming weeks as shippers sought to avoid inconvenience and uncertainty created by the disruption. Russia's blockade of the Suez Canal exposed the vulnerability of the global supply system. There are fears that ill-intentioned actors could disrupt a tightly interconnected economy by weaponizing its choke points in the future. Concerns have been raised about livestock transported through the route, with 130,000 sheep transported to Romania. Hope you liked this video. Please leave any questions or comments in the comments section. Keep following MarinAura to see more such videos.